Hello, friends. Welcome to Time Out with Noelle Janae, a podcast about Christianity and other life topics. I'm your host, Noelle, and thank you so much for timing out with me. Here's what you can expect from today's podcast. And I won't talk about it for long because it's weird. So Finland. I never really heard much about Finland. I just thought they were, a normal country. And then I read their creation story. The Cosmic Egg. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you guys have had a fantastic past couple of weeks. I hope your Thanksgiving was super fun. I hope you had a lot of food and you took a great nap, enjoyed some football, did some online shopping. I just hope it was a great time for you guys. I ate a lot of food. I took a fat nap. It was only my mom and I for Thanksgiving, but we go all out. So we had turkey, we had ham, we had dressing, we had mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, all that fun stuff. And it was so good. And then that next day, we had to travel for a funeral, but we got some more Thanksgiving food while we were there because it was in my grandparents' hometown. So we got to see them, and we got some Caribbean food that my aunt sent from New York to them, and I was blessed by the fish cakes. Amen. But that is not what we are talking about today. Today we're bringing back one of my favorite episodes / I think I'm going to make this into the series because I just think this is so interesting. Maybe it's just me, myself, and I, but I think talking about this is really cool just to compare and contrast just different stories and stuff, and it helps me understand, the Bible so much better. But today we're gonna be talking about creation in a new episode of Bible versus Mythology. Now, I don't know if I'm gonna keep this named Bible versus Mythology because I'm not really having them battle. I'm really just talking about it. So if you guys have a different name for this, a much better name, please let me know so I can rename it. But for now, Bible versus Mythology is what we're gonna go with. So, if you can hear that I'm a little congested, I am not sick. I just have really bad allergies and a sucky immune system. So, thank you. So the books that I will be talking about today are the Bible, obviously. We're going to be in Genesis 1 for a little bit. And then I picked this up at Books A Million. And I've been reading it for a while. And it's called World Mythology, From Indigenous Tales to Classical Legends. It's written by Tamsin Hughes. And it is very interesting. It has different sections. So right now I'm on the creation section, and then there's great floods, cosmology, stories of gods and men, all these things. And it's just very interesting. So I'm just gonna talk about some mythologies, compare and contrast them to creation in the Bible, and we're gonna just do a little Bible study, I guess. Would this be I don't know if this would count as a Bible study, but we're just gonna talk about the Bible, and it's gonna be fun, and you're gonna look into my brain a little bit. So let's get started. So we all know creation. It was something that was first taught to us in Bible study or in Sunday school when we were younger. It is found in Genesis 1, which, side note, I have this really funny video on my that I have saved to my YouTube, of this guy, and he's talking, And he's like, Genesis 1, verse 1, in the beginning, in the beginning. I'll have to post it on the Instagram, but it makes me cry from laughing, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. So, we read in Genesis 1, verse 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Now, I have this whole section memorized, but I have it in King James, because in EVS we sing this song called Genesis, which is basically the whole story of creation, and we have to memorize all of Genesis 1 pretty much. So yeah. So like when it says, and the Spirit of God behooved upon the face of the waters. That's how we say it, behooved. It's moved, but we say behooved. So, let's talk about creation. First of all, God spoke the world into existence. He didn't actually make anything until day 6. Probably towards, mid-afternoon, he was probably like, I'm gonna make something. And so he made humanity. But there were a whole 5.5 days, I'm being sarcastic in this, where he was just talking. So he made the world in 6 days, and he rested on the 7th. Don't forget to rest on the 7th, people. It is biblical. We will talk about that probably in another episode about the Sabbath. So the order in which he created. The first day was light and dark. Then he made sky and water. Then he made dry land. Then vegetation. Then the sun, moon, and stars, and then he made the animals and humanity, which I always thought it was interesting. Well, it shouldn't really be interesting that he made vegetation and then the sun, moon, and stars, because in order for plants to grow, they need the sun. But, vegetation and animals kind of, go together, I feel like, but he put the sun, moon, and stars in the middle of the two, which, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Maybe that's just me. So, that's pretty much all of creation, and then, he formed man in his own image. The left rib incident of how he made a woman, and that's how the world was created. Very straightforward. Yeah, that's it. While I was reading this book, these creation myths and tales in this world mythology book, some of them are insane, okay? Some of them are, so, out of left field and kind of complex, and I would just thank the Lord that he made creation very simple and easy to understand, because some of these I still am confused on. So we're going to talk about it. So, mythology. There are many different takes on how the world came into being, because, they're myths and people... oral tradition can get fickle. It can get very interesting. So the first one I want to talk about is Japan, because this one is very interesting. So it's called The 7 Generations of the Age of Gods. And basically, before the world was created, there were 7 generations of gods, little g, deities or divine spirits called kami. If you speak Japanese, I am so sorry. And then, so there was the first generation, and then there was the second generation, And then it kind of like just goes like kind of names the gods in each generation. But the most important one is the 7th and final generation, where it's these 2 little gods, and they're the makers who form the basis of all creation. And so the way they do this is like they're sitting up in heaven and they're like, hey, what's down below us? So they throw a spear from heaven and it stirs the sea. And as they lift the spear up from like down below, the liquid starts dropping from the tip. And this is how the first islands are created. Now, this is where I'm like, really? Because they're in water. So when you lift something up from water, it goes right back into the water. But no, this stays on the surface of the water. I'm confuzzled. The deities then descend to the islands and build a land. And the 2 little gods are personify the Chinese principles of yin and yang. So opposites. So they were male and female. And then they end up getting married, the 2 little gods, and they end up giving birth to many islands, including those that constitute Japan, as well as many little gods, including the gods of wind, trees, and mountains. This is kind of weird, maybe, to me. It's weird. I'm still stuck on, like, the whole, like, drop of water created, like, the first islands. I'm like, that doesn't make sense, but go off. So, I think the way that this obviously contrasts severely to, the Bible, because there's only one God in the making of land and everything in the Bible, and, there was no birthing. There was only speaking, which is probably a less painful process, obviously. So, yeah. The next one is Egypt. Now, if y'all know me, you know that I love me some Egyptian mythology. In my bedroom, which is where I'm currently at, I have 2 shelves above me. Above my desk. And on that top shelf, I have a little coffee thing. I have a clock. And then in the middle of those 2, I have my Kane Chronicles trilogy with a little African wooden statue that I got from an assembly and a little praying angel statue that I got from my dad. My church dad, not my actual dad. And I love those books. It's one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Thank you, Rick Riordan. We're getting a movie on Netflix, and I'm very excited. But I've always been interested in what the Egyptians thought of creation, because I never really heard about it. And so I was reading this, and apparently there's many different stories of creation within the Egyptian community. But one, like, commonality or similarity between all of them is this thing called the Island of Creation. So, this story says, in most of the myths, the world emerges from an infinite, lifeless sea in a distant period when the sun rose for the first time. There's the presence of an eye, the sun, that creates the mounds from the chaos of the surrounding waters. So, another chaos water situation. The primeval hills are said to represent the fertile mounds left by the receding Nile after annual floods, and the Great Pyramids were built to represent the mounds. And then all, like, the gods are, like, created, Shu, Nut, Jeb, all those people. This is actually kind of interesting to me because, you have this, like, one period and then the sun, like, rises for the first time. Like, what caused the sun to rise for the first time? Like, how, like, that's kind of just random a little bit, I think. I think it would have made more sense if there was, like, someone who came in and made the sunrise for the first time and it didn't just do it by itself. Maybe that's just me. But this is also different. Well, it's similar because there was chaos in the water, and the Bible literally says, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. The King James says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face. Yeah, I guess that's, never mind, ignore me. But, yeah. So, and the way they got all this information and stuff is through the pyramid text, which is decorations and writings on the tomb walls dating back to 2500 BC that we have gained most of our information in regarding Egyptian creation myths. That's very, like, cool and interesting. I really want to go to Egypt, and I want to go excavating, I think. I think that would just be so much fun, doing some archaeology work. Yeah. So, the next one is one that I also like. Well, not like, but one I'm also interested in. Because I was in Foundations of Western Culture, and every, like, ancient class you take, you will end up talking about Mesopotamia. So this one is called Marduk, the Killing of the Goddess. And this one is very interesting. So you have all these gods, and then you have, Marduk. And there's this one god called Ea, who was, like, kind of like the god of chaos. And he's gonna kill his brother Apsu, who was, like, the good. So it's, like, good versus evil kind of thing. And Apsu's gonna kill Ea, but Ea found out, so he kills Apsu instead, which starts a war between the little gods. And then Tiamat, which is their, like, mom, she represents salt water. She creates a monstrous creature, like the viper and the lion, and, like, her army is, like, led by Kingu, to go and fight Ea. And so, meanwhile, Ea and the goddess Damkina create the god Marduk, and Marduk agrees to fight for Ea. And so Marduk overcomes the monstrous Tiamat, a personification of chaos. Wait. Oh, Ea wasn't chaos. Him and his brothers were just restless and caused chaos and noise. So they weren't, like, evil. They were just bored, I'm guessing. And then Marduk defeats Tiamat, and then, like, splits her body, basically. And half of her body becomes the sky, and the other half becomes the earth, which is very, disgusting. Marduk becomes the undisputed leader and creates the days of the year, the planets, the moon, and the stars. He himself becomes the sun. Now, this part is super interesting to me. After a while, he creates a being who can worship the gods, little gods, while taking care of things on earth, which is humanity. Tiamat is often said to represent female principle while victorious. Marduk represents the set of male attributes. Marduk becomes the first king, and his kingdom is called Babylon. His temple serves as the model for the Tower of Babel, and he is referred to as Bel, or Lord. Marduk's symbol animal is a snake dragon. Where have we heard the story of Babylon and of the Tower of Babel? Oh, the Bible. Because I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct in this, the Tower of Babel was a story where God mixed up all of the languages. So, in the beginning, we all spoke one language, and then the Israelites were dumb and kept messing up, blah, 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 blah. And then at the Tower of Babel, God was like, bet. and basically switched up everybody's language, which is how we have so many languages now, is because God did it. So, I'm pretty sure that's the Tower of Babel story. I can go back, because I think the Tower of Babel is kind of interesting, but I haven't read it in a while. So, if I'm wrong, you guys can correct me. But yes, because I do mess up sometimes. We have 2 more stories left. And this next one, I think, is just weird. And I won't talk about it for long because it's weird. So, Finland. I never really heard much about Finland. I just thought they were, a normal country. And then I read their creation story. The cosmic egg. You heard it correctly. So, in the beginning, there are only the waters and the sky. Sky's daughter, Ilmater, is bored and lonely and goes down to the water to rest. She floats there for 700 years, longing for some company. Then one day, as she is floating in the water with her knee raised, she notices a beautiful bird looking for a place to lay its eggs. Ilmater raises her knee further. The bird lands, builds a nest, and lays some eggs. The bird sits on her nest, warming the eggs, but also warming Ilmater's knees. The heat gets too much, and Ilmater drops her knee into the water to cool it down. This dislodges the egg, and they fall into the water, where they are smashed by the waves. From one of the eggs, creation begins. The lower part of the eggshell becomes the land. The white of the egg makes the moon and stars, and the yolk becomes the sun. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but this is like crackhead energy at its finest. After several hundred more years of floating, Ilmater begins to act on her urge to create, making beaches with her arms and pools with her footprints. Ilmater has a son whose father is the sea, and he is the first man in the world. He does not begin as a baby, but as a wise old man with a long white beard, as he has been in his mother's womb for 730 years. I'm sorry. 730 years! He swims to land. I'm surprised he can even swim. And with the help of the great bear in the sky, scatters seeds and creates the first flowers. So this story is actually from a work of epic poetry from the 19th century, the Kalevala, compiled by Elias Lonrot. Depending on the version, the bird is either a duck, a teal, or sometimes an eagle. And that's the cosmic egg. Now, Finland. We need to have a discussion buddy because you need help. I can set you up with my therapist. His name is Jesus. And he can get you all straightened out. I'm not even going to attempt to connect this with the Bible because this is just a mess. So, now the last story is the one of Maui from Polynesia. Now, this one is actually not as kid-friendly as Disney makes it out to be. Yeah, so there's Maui. And this one is called The Lands Pulled Up from the Sea by a Giant Fish Hook. When he is a premature baby who is cast aside by his mother, that's how the story begins. She wraps him in her hair and places him in the ocean. The ocean takes care of him and gives him special shape-shifting powers. He returns to his village as a young man and seeks out his mother and brother. Maui has magical powers and is so much stronger than his 4 brothers. Maui makes a fish hook from his grandmother's jawbone, with which he snares the sun. He uses the bone to beat the sun so that when it returns to the sky, it will slow down, allowing more time for his people to work. Now that's sweet. But your grandmother's jawbone. Interesting choice. One day his 4 brothers are planning a fishing trip, but they don't tell Maui because they don't want him to come. However, early the next morning, he hides away in his brother's canoe. The brothers set off in high spirits. When they find a good place to fish, they stop paddling, but Maui surprises them by jumping out of his hiding place and insists that they keep paddling. Soon it begins to get dark, and they lose sight of the land. His brothers fall asleep one by one, but Maui keeps paddling all night. In the morning, Maui is happy because he has found a fishing place he is satisfied with, but his brothers are tired and grumpy, and in their anger, they refuse to give him any bait to fish with. And then he takes the jawbone hook, gives himself a nosebleed, and he uses his own blood as bait. And then a bunch of other stuff happens. He ends up getting crushed, blah blah blah. And yeah. That's about it. So, that one's also very interesting because I watched Moana and it made it very PG, or not even PG, more rated G. This is more like rated PG-13, which I don't think Disney would have let fly. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned a little bit of something. I'm also not going to pair this one to the Bible because I think it's kind of obvious the Bible wins every time. Because 1, it is super simple to understand. 2, the one and true God made heaven and earth. So, why do other people need to try to, make up stories about it that are way more complex? And, yeah, God breathed. And that's about it. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I don't think I'm actually gonna, edit this one because I think it came out well. And I think you guys will enjoy the full unedited version of this. Sorry it's a little bit longer, but since my episodes are usually super short, I wanted to do a little bit of a longer episode this time. So, have a great day, have a great week, have a great 2 weeks, and I will see you guys in the next one. Welcome back to Songs of the BiWeek. I hope you guys have had a great year of listening to some great music, and I want to leave you guys off this episode with a Christmas song and a Christian song. Christian first. So this week's first song of the BiWeek is Voice of God by Dante, Bowe, Steffany, Gretzinger, and Chandler Moore. And the Christmas song of the BiWeek is It's Christmas by Planetshakers. So, Voice of God, I originally discovered this song through actually YouTube because it recommended me this video when it first came out, and I listened to it and I watched it and I cried because I was in quarantine and my emotions were very high. And I love this song. I immediately added it to my Jesus playlist on Apple Music and Spotify, which go follow me on there if you have not. My Apple Music is at Noel Janae, and my Spotify is, I think you can just search Noel Janae or Noel Allgood and you'll find it. And I love this song. I love, the authenticity. I love, the lyrics, how, real they are. I'm obsessed with this song, is basically what I'm trying to say. And I highly recommend it because it is a great addition to your quiet time. And yeah, I just love all three of those people so much. And then the last one is It's Christmas by Planetshakers. I discovered this song at our Classic Christmas recording because we weren't able to have our big Christmas concert. We call it Classic Christmas at Lee, and we weren't able to have it in person due to COVID and everything, but we were able to record it. So after we, recorded and we were about to leave, my friend Bryson, who works on Tech Crew, he played this song, and I was like, ooh, this is funky and fun. And so I texted him, I was like, Bryson, what is this song? I love it. And then he told me that it was by Planetshakers. And I also immediately added it to my Christmas playlist on Apple Music and Spotify. And I just love, there's this one part where it's like a bass solo, and oh my gosh, it's so good. And like the melody is super like catchy, and it's just like a funky, groovy song. And it's definitely a Christmas song that you really haven't heard like other songs similar to it. It's very unique for Christmas, and I just love Planetshakers so much. And so yes, those are my songs of the BiWeek. If you have any song suggestions, hit me up on the DMs on Instagram at TimeNoelPod or at Noel_Janae, and I may add them to a songs of the BiWeek. Next episode, what I'm planning on doing is walking you guys through my Spotify Wrapped and my Apple Music Rewind playlist things. So that will be next time's episode. And I'm very excited for it because it will be coming out on the 31st. And so we're just going to talk about all the things. So, yes. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Have a great next week. And don't forget to go add the Songs of the BiWeek playlist on Apple Music and Spotify. Link in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, then give us a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to the podcast on wherever you listen to, and share it with your friends and family so it can spread around and more people can listen to a 19-year-old sophomore college student rant about things. If you want to, you can follow us on Instagram at TimeNoelPod. Check out the blog, check out the small business, check out all the links and stuff, and don't forget to save or add the Songs of the BiWeek playlist on Apple Music and Spotify. And next time I will be talking about something. Not really sure what, but something. I hope you guys have a blessed and highly flavored day, and a blessed and highly flavored 2 weeks, and I will catch you in the next one. Goodbye!